Hi there, hope you're having a pleasant day wherever you may be. Right now, I'm at the only legal place that you could swim in Crater Lake. I'm at the end of the Cleetwood Cove Trail. Crater Lake National Park is located about an hour or so outside of the town of Klamath Falls, Oregon, and Cleetwood Cove Trail is on the northern edge of the lake itself. So what exactly is the Cleetwood Cove Trail? Well, first we got to start with what is Crater Lake. Crater Lake is the result of Mount Mazama when it erupted several 100,000 years ago, and the volcano ended up caving in on itself, creating this large crater, which over the millennia has filled with water and is now this beautiful lake in central Oregon. Now, for those of you that have been playing along at home, I did visit here previously on my Cascades video, so if you'd like to check that out, go right ahead. But what do you say we get back to this one? Cleetwood Cove has the distinction of being the only place in Crater Lake where it's actually legal to go down to the water and swim. It's also the dock where the NPS launches their boat tours of Crater Lake. This is not just a swimming hole, it's also where they launch their watercraft here. Crater Lake is one of those places where, no matter what angle you get it from, no matter where you're looking from, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. And the trail, as you're hiking down, just gives you one great sight after another, It's just beautiful. Two of the main features of the water at Crater Lake are the clarity and the blueness. Now, when you're up above, high, hiking down, you're really overtaken by the blueness. Once you get down to it, you're overtaken by the clarity. Now, those two characteristics of the Crater Lake water, that really deep blue hue and the clarity, are the result of a couple of factors. One is Crater Lake is not fed by tributaries. There's no streams that flow into it. So streams bring in sediments, streams cloud water. It's primarily fed by rain and snow melts. And the other reason is that they have a lot of control over what goes into the lake. There's no outside watercraft out there. The only ones that are out there are NPS boats, and there's not very many of those. As far as hiking down the Cleetwood Cove Trail, they have a long list of things that you cannot take with you. You can't take any sort of flotation devices, rafts, flippers, snorkels, wetsuits, anything like that, because they don't want anything to introduce any sort of outside organisms or anything to the lake. They want to keep it as pristine as they can, and I think they're doing a pretty damn good job of that. So the Cleetwood Cove Trail is a 2.2 mile round trip down to the water. Now, it descends 700 feet in that 1.1 half trip, and so that means you got to climb back up 700 feet to get back to the trailhead. Now, the upper portions of the hike are shaded, which are nice. It's when you get a little closer to the lake itself that you become a little more exposed. And it's, if it's a warm day, you're gonna feel it. Whereas right now, in the shade of the trees, it's actually a little cool. It's very nice. Once you make it down, it's kind of a choose your own adventure down the rocks to get to the actual water. There's really no designated beach, so you just have to kind of find a spot on the rocks that kind of works for you. By the time I got down here, a lot of the good ones were taken, so my spot ended up being all right. So I'm at the water level of Crater Lake. According to the little newspaper thing, the average temperature of the water is 60 degrees in August. And August is about the hottest month of the water. So once you walk down there, if you decide that you want to get into the water, it's kind of tricky. I mean, there's just a lot of rocks you have to climb over just to get to the water's edge. And then once you're trying to step in the water, you have slippery rocks that you're trying to get onto. You're trying to contend with the cold water. It was pretty chilly as I was trying to get in there to swim. It took me a while to finally convince myself to dunk. And then once you are swimming, they don't want you doing any like distance swimming or anything like that. Just stay close to the edge there. Swim out a little bit if you'd like, but don't go trying to swim across the lake. And two, there's also no lifeguard. They're very clear about that it's swimming at your own risk. There's no lifeguard on duty. And there's also no restrooms at the moment. I don't know if it's a COVID thing, but their restrooms down at the cove were closed. There are plenty of restrooms at the trailhead, but none at the bottom. And one thing I've definitely discovered is it's It's a very popular hike. When I went down, it was a little earlier in the day. There were a lot of people, but on the way back up, a little later in the day, I'm constantly passing people going up and down. There's a lot of traffic on this one. Like I said, it's a very popular hike. Just look at the size of the parking lot. I gotta say, it is a strenuous hike. It's tough, but it's really awesome to see the lake from a different perspective. You know, you see it from all these viewpoints that are high above the water. It's really neat to get down there and see it and be within the crater at a lower level, and even more of an experience to actually get in the water and say, hey, I swam in Crater Lake. So if you're up for the challenge and you're visiting Crater Lake, I definitely recommend it. All in all, Crater Lake is a beautiful, beautiful place. Definitely worth checking out. I know this one's a little hard to get to because there's no major population centers near it, but just do your best to try to. And if you do visit, give Cleetwood Cove Trail a thought at least. My first time visiting here, I didn't. This second time I was in the neighborhood, came by the lake, happened to see some boats that you could see their shadow in the water, and that sold me. I was like, you know what, even though I'm kind of short on time, I'm gonna do the hike, and I'm glad I did. Well, that does it for this one. Thanks for joining me on this trip to the Cleetwood Cove Trail and the water level of Crater Lake. Hope you found it interesting, hope you enjoyed it, and maybe I encourage you to come check it out yourself. With that said, I guess I'll see you on the next one. Unfortunately, I tried to demonstrate that with my GoPro, but I forgot to bring the little flap over the part to keep it waterproof, so I tried my best, but you get the idea. It's pretty clear water.